Hello and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are you? Good morning. Can see Agnes, can see Doris, Ezekiel, Jackie, Lydia. Who else? Mary. Actually, Mary Kane, Mary Mugwira, Miriam, Patrick. Can see SG, Simon. Can see somebody whose name is not clear, I think, under Techno. Then we have Wanjiru. We have who else? Who else? Who else?
Good morning, Mwalimu.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Good to hear that you're there. Let's see, we have Miriam is saying good morning. So good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. How was your week?
The week was good and looking forward to today. You have been giving us some very good knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you. Today is the final day actually on the module. So we hope that whatever we had expected to achieve, our expectations will be met today. We have Ezekiel, Hamoud.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Okay. Right, so I think before we start today, I want us to do it a bit differently. Maybe for those ones who have already logged in, I would just want to have a reflection, just share with us your experience for the past week. How has been your week as we wait for others to log in, but we should be starting in the next 10 minutes. I just want to have that. Then one of us will pray, then we will commence from there. At least I want to hear people's voices today. or you can chat. Just share with us how your experience has been. Because I've realized during this period, I think the social interaction is very key, because you tend to learn more about what people are going through, how they are meeting the challenge, what have they come up with, what is the different line of thoughts that they are adopting and all that, which to me is very enriching. So I would want us to have that sort of engagement. So if you feel there's something that you can share with us for the past week or for the past 1 month, what has been, it can be personal, it can be work related, but I would want us to have that approach as we start. Okay, maybe as people prepare to say, maybe I can share what mine. I came across a thought, or rather, just when I was reading, I came across a quote which was saying that that in life you don't get exhausted by what you do, but you only get exhausted, or you get burned out, not by what you do, but by you lacking to believe in what you do, or in why you do that, whatever you do. And when I was sharing with my team, I told them, you know, every day when you come to work, or every day you wake up to go and do something, whatever will determine the energy that you have, or how your energy will be exhibited in you, or how the energy will be distributed, or how the energy will be exposed in you, depends on you believing in why you wake up every morning, or you believing in going to work, or you believing in what you do and loving what you do. In other words, sometimes when you find that you are not it's like you've lost energy, you need to ask yourself, is it that I'm doing a lot, or whatever I'm doing, I don't believe in it? Because anytime you believe in something, that has to give you the drive. It must give you a lot of energy, the oomph. That oomph has to come out from what you believe in. So ideally, even as you sit here today, that means there is something that made you to wake up, and there's something that makes you to believe in. So the reason why I'm sitting here, because there is something that you want to achieve. There is that drive that makes you feel that I need to log in, I need to study, I need to expand my knowledge, I need to share with people, I need to build my capacity, I need to look at things differently, I need to reconstruct my mindset. And overall, it's like your vision. You're just trying to redefine your vision due to the various factors that you interact with, both at the personal level and also at the external level. So that could be what I can say is my reflection of the past few days. The past few days. I can see Jackie. Yes, Jackie says Blue Ocean has changed my view on how to achieve goals, and this is preparing my mind for diversification. Fantastic, fantastic from Jackie. Anybody else with something that they feel they need to share with us? Mary Khan says she's excited to be in this training. Good, Mary, welcome. That's Mary. Then we have, okay, Meshach saying good morning. All right.
Hi.
Yes, good morning.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Yes.
For me, I just wanted to just share general insights.
Yes.
Yeah, that I think this whole COVID-19 pandemic situation
Yeah.
has, I think, has challenged us to also think of diversification. My experience has been, yes, you could have been focusing on only one thing,
Yes.
but basically I'm seeing like what it has taught us is that you need to think wide, that you don't
Yes.
need to put all your eggs in one basket.
In one basket.
Yes, because like I've experienced maybe some of my friends or people I know, for example, who have been in educational institutions.
Mm.
Yeah, the ones who had a bit of diversification have been able to, to survive through. The ones whose focus has been on one area, I find that they really had a really challenging time.
Yes.
And especially noting that there are so many uncertainties.
Yeah.
Like the experience we have had maybe the last 1 or 2 weeks where it is indicated that schools are going to reopen, but nobody says when they are going to reopen.
Yes, true.
Exactly. So I'm thinking that one of the lessons that it has really taught us is don't put your eggs in one basket. Yeah, probably maybe build your skill base as well. Yeah,
Yes.
so that when things are tough, you can actually be able to venture into various different areas.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can see how, for example, some of the school owners have been forced, for example, to transform their schools into, gardens and, livestock keeping areas and so on and so forth. Yeah, but I think from the individual perspective, it has taught us that really just think wide.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my thought.
Wow. That's a great insight from Patrick that we should not put all our eggs in one basket. And I think from that experience that you've talked about, people who are being able to move very fast and adapt, it's more about being able to transition very quickly and adapt. That adaptability is, for example, is very key because somebody feels, now that this one is not working, what is the next thing that I can move into? So that's a very wonderful insight from Patrick. Angeline says, you need to improve yourself, valuable in the market and industry. Charles says diversification and reinvention is very key. Yeah. You need to reinvent yourself. You need to diversify. Like you've seen, there are so many people who had never even sold items online, but this time they had to move online. There are proprietors of schools. Like there was one, I think, who immediately started poultry. After the schools were closed, after the learning was stopped, he moved directly to poultry, which means it's a means of actually adapting. How fast do you adapt to changes so that you don't look at them as threats, but you translate those threats into opportunities? So it's all about when you look at things coming your way, don't look at them as coming to dictate your fault or coming to dictate your failure, but you need to look at them as Simon. Simon, we can see you're doing something. Jeff Croy says flexibility is also key. Flexibility is key. That's Jeff Croy. Thank you. Simon has shared that he says happy to be here. All right. We are happy to see you also. We are happy to have you, Simon. Good. So ladies and gentlemen, I think it's time we start. Can I request one of us to give us a brief prayer? Then we proceed with the discussion or the conversation.
I can pray.
All right. Thank you, Patrick.
Okay, let's pray. Mighty dear Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, Father God, we worship you, we praise you, we give you glory, we give you honor. Father God, thanking you even for your goodness and faithfulness, that Jehovah God, you've enabled us, Jehovah God, to join this class, to study the Blue Ocean strategy. Father God, how we pray that you will be with us, that you give us wisdom, that you open our minds, that Jehovah God, we can understand and contribute, and that thereafter, Jehovah God, will use it for the benefit of our society. We thank you, we bless you, for we pray this in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Patrick, for that. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our final edition of Blue Ocean Strategy. That's our third module. And just to recap on what we did last time, I think for the past two modules, our focus has been understanding what Blue Ocean is, the differences, the significance, how do you create a Blue Ocean, so that as you keep on analyzing the market, basically the trend and all that, how do you create? What are the steps for the BOS? Then the tools. That's the Blue Ocean Strategy tools, which we started with them sometime last week, and we'll be concluding with those ones today. Then also there was that concept of value innovation. In other words, what sort of value proposition are you advancing to the market? What sort of proposition are you advancing to the people? Or what sort of proposition are you advancing to your client? Because that's essentially what this value innovation is. And that's what will actually make you to stand out or to differentiate you from the rest when you're venturing into the market. Then also we concluded with looking at the tipping point leadership, where we focused more on how do we, when you look at leadership, for example, then how do you carve out that leadership in the sense that you become a leader in terms of leading people, making their minds, submitting to your ideology, and generally for them going with your journey towards the vision that you have. So today we extend that conversation by taking a closer look at some of the tools that we had introduced after the tools that we looked at last time. But basically today, our focus will be, how do we build the future? How do we build our future? How do we make the future to be different? And remember, the future is not, nowadays we've gone out of that concept where we say the future belongs to people who will, or in the dreams, but we say the future starts today. And in the words of Abraham Lincoln, he said that the best way to predict your future is to create it. The best way to predict your future is to create it. So what does that mean? His ideology was that we should not just live in hope, but for you to live in that hope, then you must be charting something. You must be coming up with something. You should be creating something. You should be thinking of something, so that by thinking of something, then you come up with the best ways to realize that. So from the thought process to realization. And that's what will make it easier now for us to say that we are predicting our future. So you only do that when you do something. And just to echo the sentiments of Patrick, when he was giving that example of schools or proprietors that have lost hope, proprietors that have been in despair, because once the schools were closed, it's like they felt now that's the end of themselves. But you see, for them, they should not have looked at that as the end of themselves, because once you have that structure, you believe in that school, and generally it was a global concept, so then you should not actually lose hope and say that I think now I have to completely close down the school. But you look at innovative ways of doing that. I know there are some institutions even who went to the government and said, can my institution be host, or can it host, can it act as an isolation center? Or yeah, basically that. So when people do that, then you find that they're thinking very, very fast, because you look at the change and say, in this change, what is the positive that I can get from it? And that's what, in the words of Abraham Lincoln, the best way to predict your future is to create it. So even whatever you do, you must always be looking at, what am I creating for myself? What am I creating for the organization? What am I creating for my family? What am I creating generally to achieve? And normally, when you talk about creation, at times let us not think about it as a very abstract concept. Creation is just doing something, thinking of something, and believing in it and actualizing it. That's essentially what Abraham is saying. And on the same line, there's always a quote from somebody who is called Zopa. He said that we need to live with compassion, work with compassion, die with compassion, meditate with compassion, enjoy with compassion. When problems come, experience them with compassion. That's another the quote from Zopa, someone from Nepal. It's a very interesting read from him. Anyway, so ladies and gentlemen, today I want us now to look at the objectives. So some of these objectives are basically the tools, like from what is Erc Grid. Those are tools that we had started last week. So they come up to, or the tools, they're actually the 4 of them. That's PMS. The bio-utility map, I think we already explored it last time. So this one is just a continuation of the same. Then we'll be looking at the different tiers of non-customers, because as we've had this conversation, we've always said that for you to achieve blue ocean strategy, then you need to look at the uncontested market. And in view of that, the uncontested market is basically these non-customers. And we'll be looking at, who are these non-customers? How do we have them on board? At what point do we identify them? And what do we do with that? Having identified that they are actually existing, then how do we ensure that they become part of our customers? Then also we'll be looking at the 3 E's of strategic fair process. And from the 3 E's, you'll find that people, or what we call human beings, are at the core of that process. Because ideally, you cannot achieve your strategy without people. So human beings are actually at the center. They are more of the DNA of that kind of process. Then we'll also look at strategy reorientation and execution. And from the perspective of reorientation, that means it's a strategy that you keep on reviewing, and as you review it, then you want to also embed in the minds of the people, or you want to embed it in your minds so that you review it and think about it in a different way than you execute. Then you also look at, how do we choose the right strategic approach? Which direction do we take in view of the strategies that we would have drafted? Then again, we'll also look at the core values to drive innovation. So it's my wish that by the time we complete this, then you can, as HR professionals, you should be able now to advise the board. You should be able to advise the directors. You'll be able to advise even the marketers on how well they can change the trajectory of your business or the trajectory of that organization or the trajectory of how the market perceives our products, or how the market will perceive your products. Right. So as I've said, we have this continuation of the ERRC as a tool. And this tool of some of the tools to analyze or to determine BOS, or to understand BOS, is by having what we call the eliminate, reduce, raise, and create. And I'll be giving you an illustration on how we do that plotting. We plot on that quadrant where we have eliminate, what does it constitute, the reduce, the raise, and create. So when you're doing that, then it enables you now to look at the complements and also the 4 actions that we looked at last time in our conversation. So this ERRC grid will actually enable the business to create the blue ocean, not only by answering the questions, but also to push companies to all the 4 to create a new curve. So it will help us to know what sort of decisions do we eliminate, what sort of actions do we reduce, or the threats that come, the risks that come, do we reduce for the business? Then which ones do we raise? In fact, it's like you're looking at, you've been selling a product and you realize that this product I've not marketed it enough. So when you're doing the analysis, it comes out as one of your weaknesses, where you say, we've not expanded our market, we've not focused, or we've not targeted the market the way we should do it. So in that case, then your strategy will be to raise. And after that, then you create the strategy towards that. But then it gives you a journey by looking at the eliminating, you reduce, then you raise and create. So that grid now gives you the new thought process, the new way in which now you're going to change the direction of your business. So by doing that, you find that the grid will help the business to break away from the value cost trade-off, and therefore follow what we call differentiation and low cost. Now, differentiation in normal terms, or in general terms, and I think having had this conversation before, we're just looking at how do you make your products to be renewed, to appear new. It's like rebranding. When you rebrand, sometimes when you go to town, along the streets, and you remember there's one restaurant maybe you used to be, then this time when you look at it, it looks different, the new colors, and also it has the new ambience. What comes in your mind? You start thinking that maybe there has been a change in management, or maybe this business or this restaurant has been bought by somebody else. Now, that is a concept of differentiation. So you can rebrand to differentiate yourself. But that means now, as that restaurant rebrands, then you want to see also the services looking different. You want to see those services appearing unique. And that's the concept of differentiation. So by doing that analysis of this, going through that grid, then it informs the organization to make such kind of judgment, or to make that kind of decision. At the same time, it helps you to see the gray areas, the dangers with your strategy, the dangers with your actions. So that you look at, if I want to support or to advertise this product, if I want to make this company to expand or to grow, if I want to minimize costs, then in that case, as I'm looking at raising and creating, I should also be looking at what? Eliminating and also reducing, so that you don't end up also just spending in even these concepts that you need to eliminate at the expense of whatever you're creating. So what does that mean? This, I want you to figure out the ERRC model or grid in view of the SWOT analysis. So we need to look at it at the same time, because when you'll be doing this analysis, it gives you a glimpse of what we normally do under strategy formulation when you carry out the SWOT analysis. So generally, that's the understanding I wanted us to have so that you don't wonder what is this grid and how different is it from SWOT analysis. Because essentially it's how different viewpoints have been taken, but they're addressing the same aspect. So this grid also enables the company to look at high levels of engagement and its application. And basically, it also enables the business to understand the market. I don't know how many of us are familiar with Michael Porter 5 forces. Now, Michael Porter is a strategy guru in marketing, Michael Porter. So he came up with 5 forces, and he says that in any setting, in any market, we have different forces. And he says these forces are 5. One of the forces, he says, is the buyers. So you as a customer, now you are a force to that business. Then we have the suppliers. The suppliers become another force to the business. Then we also have new substitutes, or substitute products, actually. The substitutes that could be appearing in the market. Then we have a new entrance. If a new company comes on board, what threat does that pose now to the existing company? So after we look at the threat of the new substitute, then we have now the competition, what we call competitor rivalry. So the rivalry within now that competition. So based on Porter's 5 forces, then businesses are able now to every time analyze their performance by looking at what is the view of our clients, our customers. Are we having a decline in our customers? Are we retaining customers? If we are not retaining them, then if they are moving to another rival company, then what implication does it have? So that now drives you to rethink your strategy and say, I don't want to continue competing in the same environment. I would rather create a market which I can enjoy, which I will not have limitations, which I will not be competing. And that's what ERRC now borrows from the competitor analysis. It gives you now to say, what is it that these things that industry is competing on, so that you discover the range of things that have not been identified. Then now you target yourself to those ones, thereby now creating the blue ocean strategy. Now, this is now that ERC, the ERRC grid. If you look at it, under elimination, we are saying that you are looking at which are these factors that the industry has competed on for a long time, which should be removed. What is it that you've been competing on? Are you competing on the price? Are you competing on just selling the same product to the same clients? So that's where now you ask yourself and say, we need to do away with this. Then you move to reduce. Then you ask yourself, what are these factors that should be reduced greatly? How do we minimize them so that they don't affect our reconstructed strategy? Then after looking at those two, then now look at which factors should be greatly raised above the industry standard. And that's where now you're creating a value innovation. So after looking at what you've been doing and you say, we cannot continue doing things the same way. Let it not be business as usual. Let's come up with innovative ways. Then that's when now you're saying, why can't we focus on this innovative way? Why can't we focus on this new concept? So that we actually advocate it, so that we advance it, we propagate it to the market, and that way then we'll develop a niche for ourselves. Then as you do that, as you raise that, then you're saying which factors that the industry has to raise. Which ones now have to be supported? Which ones do you need now to channel your resources into to enable you to stand out, to enable you now to be different from the rest? Lately, I think for the last few months, you've seen in the carpentry industry, people coming up with modified chairs that can also work as beds and all that. And normally when you look at it, we get excited and we wonder. So we have people with these great minds. And you see, when somebody sells that idea to you, or you see that item, or we see those seats that can be converted into beds, then it actually evokes our minds and we feel, why don't we think of also other things? Because when you look at it, you wonder, this person, what was going in his mind that he thought of coming up with a seat that can be converted into a bed. Now that's where we talk about creating. And when you create, other people, whenever they see that, they get excited and they start imitating. We'll be looking at that concept of imitation in due course, on why some companies have remained where they are because of imitation. For them, it's about waiting to see what has been done. Like there's a time people are saying that China is a top-notch imitator, because for them, they were saying that China will always look at what others are doing, then they come up with another version of the same. But you see, China looks a bit abstract, but if you look at ourselves, if you look at the companies that we are in, are we still competing on that kind of grid, whereby we just look at another company has advertised. If they advertise in this channel, they will also advertise in the channel. If they come up with a new product, we do the same. That way, you are putting yourself in a very cutthroat competition, and you are likely not to win because the competition has already started. So by joining in, you're just advancing the same actions, which may not favor you. Good, so that's now the ERG. So the next tool, which is a map, and you'll be seeing the relationship between that grid plus this map plus the buyer usability or the buyer utility, and you see the relationship between intending to understand how this works out, then you'll be able to evaluate which one of them is the best in terms of developing a BOS. Now, this Pioneer Migrator Settler map is generally a map whereby it categorizes companies in these three. Meaning, we'll be looking at companies that appear in the category of pioneers. Oh, sorry, there's somebody, let me see who that is. We should mute their mics. So what I'm saying is this PMS, it has categories of organizations or companies that we classify as pioneers. We have others we call migrators, and we have others we call settlers. And in general terms, this categorization enables the business to move towards profitability or growth. So when you settle, at times there is a saying which says that moving to number one or getting to number one will be easier, but maintaining that number one and beyond is difficult. And that's what sometimes happens with these settlers. But you may start as a business, and once you settle, that means you've commanded the market and you feel now this market is mine. Or you feel that now, I think our product cannot be matched with any other. Or I believe our service has received a lot of loyalty. So in that case, then you tend now to become, complacent. And you don't now think beyond the market. You don't now look at how well can I make this product to remain or to retain its position. So as we look at this, you find that we'll be looking at where the business is today and where it wants to be. Then we can be able to relate with these three components of the businesses. So that map, it helps managers who wants to look beyond today. They're looking into the future of the company. So if you are looking into the future of the company, then as a blue ocean, then you must be focusing on becoming a pioneer in everything. So become a pioneer, then after that, you again, when you settle for some time, then you are in the settler position, then you migrate. That means you come up with different ways of analyzing the market, and thinking differently, then you come up with another innovation, then you become a pioneer. So, unlike in the past, where the focus was purely on profitability and customer satisfaction and revenue and market share, this kind of approach by this PMS map, it goes beyond that. Meaning, it has a lot of similarity with what we call the balanced scorecard, so that it gives you a more advanced analysis of the organization in general vis-a-vis these other indicators of growth. So it is important that we understand that these measures alone cannot point to the future because of the changing environment. And a good example, this year, COVID has just drawn everything into a limbo. Whatever projections we had as businesses, whatever projections we had as individuals, we've not been able to achieve them, meaning that dynamism is what has caused all these changes. Hence, it is important that we understand that the market share of today reflects, or is a true reflection of how well a business has performed historically. Now, this map, in terms of description of how it is, we have the settlers, which are businesses that are what we can say that are defined as Me Too businesses that believe in the concept of value imitation or emulation of values that are already created by other competitors. Take a good example. You start a poultry business just because Patrick started it. In that way, you are belonging in this category of settlers. Because somebody told you they started that and they excelled, then you say, why not? Let me also start it. That's on the settlers perspective. But you can start, when looking at the description of the next one, you find that if I'm starting a poultry business, for me to distinguish myself from Patrick, then I should have something more. Meaning, I need to have understood what Patrick is doing and what he's not doing. The 10% that Patrick doesn't do, then I focus my energies more on the 10% so that I'm able now to carve my niche. I'm able to create my niche. I'm able to create a market for myself. In the second category, that's migrators. They offer businesses that are better than what is there in the marketplace, meaning they're giving something more than that. And that's what I was saying, from settlers, then there's the migrators. By thinking of a value addition, by thinking of, if I'm selling some products, then I can say, if you buy products to this, up to this amount, I'll provide transport. I'll provide free installation. I'm going to give you a gift pack, or I'm going to give you a voucher. I'm going to give you a ticket. Now that is value improvement. The other thing is, in terms of value improvement, also you're looking at improvisation of values that are already created by other competitors and existence in the market. So ideally, you are not reinventing the wheel. What you're doing is you want to develop a distinctive feature that will be associated with you. You want to make other clients or other customers to look at you as giving them more value than the rest of the market. And a good example, I think last time there was somebody who gave us that example of what Carrefour were doing by offering, were they umbrellas or what? So by doing that, I'm sure that period of time, there were many people who went to shop. Considering that even it was a rainy season, so many people flocked that place, and I'm sure even they came from neighboring counties, they came all the way. So somebody can even come from Kitengela all the way to Carrefour just because of they have heard of that umbrella. But you know that customer will not mind even spending more than, you know, how much will it cost to come from Kitengela to this other side? It's even more than that umbrella. But you see, it's that mindset, it's that positioning that these people have done, which is basically the migrator. So the supermarket will come up to them and say, we are going to offer discounts. We are going to give this value add. And that's what will make we as normal human beings who are customers to psychologically feel attracted to this other business or to this other service or product. So that's on the concept of migrators. Then pioneers, these are now companies which will offer businesses that we call, they provide unrivaled value, unprecedented value. And usually they're just top notch. They're leading from the top. They're at the top of the game. That's the essence of the pioneers. So for them, they ensure that they, as I've said, they become the BOS. They have actualized the BOS, and therefore people will be looking at it and say, do you know what has happened? There is this new brand, there is this new product, there's this new service. And we can have this, we can link this clearly to when Uber was launched in Kenya. Everyone was wowed by that, and they were saying, you know, there's we are aware that there's an app that you'll have, and it will enable you now to determine how much you know the price before even you get to that point. Yet we knew very well the taxi businesses that were there. First, you have to negotiate. You take 20 minutes negotiating with this guy on how much you need to be charged up to that point. So even by the time you get there, even the price will have changed, because he may get a point and say, no, this is not where you told me. I don't think you told me the right information. So I'm not going to pay you, I'm not going to accept a less amount than this. But now with that concept, initially people were wondering, how does it work? How can I know how much I'm going to pay even before I board the taxi? You get? So, and that is what pioneers or the BOS strategy does. So it makes the business to appear on its own. And people now start thinking on how does this business operate? What sort of logistics does it go through? And how easy it is to ensure that you run this kind of operation. And that's where these pioneers are. So what it means is that businesses go through, they transit through these three. But the moment you become a pioneer, then you become complacent, then you go back to settler. But by you innovating every now and then, continually looking at what companies are not, what clients want from you, then that's what enables you to be a pioneer. So you're looking at pioneers with a difference, pioneers that dictate the market, or pioneers that shape the market, pioneers that shape the customer needs, they shape the customer perspectives about the business. So as I've said, if you look at the final sentence there, we're saying that such businesses then offer what we call the blue ocean strategy, because they're the leading in the sector. And another example which we mentioned, I think in the first conversation, in the first module, was when you look at the concept of M-Pesa. When M-Pesa was launched in Kenya, it was the talk of town. And even today, people have just become so positioned to it, so conditioned to the sense that even if I want to send money, I have even an Airtel line, there's always Airtel money, but I don't even think of Airtel money. What I think about is M-Pesa. Hence, it is that aspect whereby we believe M-Pesa is the leader. M-Pesa has the right infrastructure. M-Pesa has the right service. It does not disappoint when it comes to reliability. And that's why you can see what M-Pesa have been doing. Every time they come up with something and tell you, we want to make your M-Pesa transactions easier. If you make a wrong transaction, dial this. I think it was 456. Right now, they're telling you, you can confirm the name. Before you do what? You send the money. What are they doing? They want to remain pioneers. They want to remain pioneers. So based on the complaints that arise from how M-Pesa has been dealt with the clients, then these people are always saying, how do we minimize this? How do we offer a solution to this problem? Right? So when the companies provide solutions to the problems of the product they have already launched on the market, that's the essence of pioneering. So they want to be the top. Every time if there's a problem, they're the ones who are giving the solution first. Right? That's the essence of being pioneers. So the question is, for how long do you remain pioneers? So you can only remain a pioneer if you constantly monitor the market, you learn. We have what we call a learning organization, so that you must ensure that every time you're learning about the changing fashion, the trends, the needs, even the complaints that come along. That's a learning process. So you as an individual, you as a company, even if you're dealing with clients, you need to find out, why is it that my clients have all of a sudden become very unresponsive? What could be the problem? Then by doing that, by looking at what is making them not to respond, then you are undergoing learning. Because now from that, you'll be able to come up with a solution to ensure that you keep engaging with the clients. That is how you can remain as a pioneer. So as we do that, using that PMS, then you find that it will help us to understand where we are and where we want to be. But if we find that in whatever we plot, we are basically settlers, where you're saying, I want to increase my volume of sales to 10 million this year. But when I look at the activities that you have put, are the same activities you put last year. So the only thing you've done is maybe you've increased the number of people that are going to work towards that. That means you are remaining as what? As a settler. So chances of growth are out of question, because you cannot grow when you're doing the same thing. Growth only comes in when you do things differently. You can only do, in fact, successful people in the world, they do just the 1% that is not done by others. The 1% that is not done by others. So you need to ask yourself, what is this 1% that others are not doing, so that I capitalize on it, so that I optimize on that. So in that case, if you find that you're doing the same thing, then you are purely in the red ocean, and your dreams of coming out of that are impossible. Hence, your company needs to push for value innovation, because you can't continue doing the same thing and expecting to come up with growth. You cannot grow with the same ideology, the same thinking, and the same strategy. Alternatively, if you find that your current portfolio and the planned portfolio describes the migrators, then it means that you expect the company to start growing. Because you're saying, from last year, our products did not receive very good reviews. And we are given the reason as being 1, 2, 3, 4. We didn't have the right customer service. We didn't have, or the product does not cater for a particular group. So you go ahead and now come up with a product to cater for that market. I recall one of us had mentioned about, what was it? The Coke company, where they have now diversified and come up with, they're actually manufacturing, they're packaging water and juice. So that kind of scenario is replicating the migrators, meaning you are now trying to identify other areas that need to be enhanced. And you can even look at also how Coca-Cola behaved when initially the brands were actually, the lines were only around 5. Coke, I think there was Sprite, then Fanta was only one, I think one flavor. But now they have come up with even, I think, 6 flavors or 7 under Fanta. Reason being, they responded to what clients were asking. That must you only have orange? Why don't you have pineapple? Because we have juice that is pineapple. Why don't you have maybe peach? Why don't you have passion and all that? So based on that feedback, then they went ahead and said, we need to change. We need to come up with new flavors. And by coming up with those flavors, it has actually done a lot of growth in their side. But now what they need to do is to ensure that they exploit that kind of market. All right, now this gives the summary of what I've just mentioned. You can see settlers they believe in imitation. For them, it's just imitating and imitating. You start a market, you start a boutique, you start a salon, you're offering the same services. We don't see anything new. If there are seats, the same seats we normally see in other salons, they're the ones we'll see in yours. If you're looking at the ambience, it's the same. So that means you're just merely a settler. A migrator, on the other hand, is informed by value improvement. This is somebody who will say, I want to take these services to the client. So they'll call you and say, if you're unable to come, we can offer this service at the comfort of your house. Or we have some package that we can offer. That's now the migrators. Then the pioneers, as I've said, they are basically the value innovators. They're the leaders. They're the ones that come up with ideas. They're championing that. And everyone is just looking at them. What next? What next will come out of this? That's what these pioneers are known to be. So as we sit here, then you need to ask yourself, is our business a pioneer? Is our organization a migrator? Is our company a settler? If you're able to answer those questions, then you will know where the problem is. You know what you need to do. Even in terms of policies, do we see companies that are coming up with policies that are unique? Right now, we are looking at people working from home. And I know there are already companies that have put in place policies to that effect. But while others are still waiting to be told, can you have this policy? So such companies are still in the settlers' mindset. But for those other ones, they have already been looking at, during this COVID, what is it that can change? In fact, I've been having conversations with most of the managers and directors, and what I've realized is they're saying that they're going to identify people who will be working from home permanently. That COVID has actually made them feel that they don't need these people to be working from the office premises. And this period, they have been able to identify even who are these people that are matata. Somebody who goes off, you have an incident where you have people working from home, but when you call them, they don't pick your calls. Somebody will call back at 4 p.m. and I missed your call. Yet you wanted that person to maybe to assist you at around 9 a.m. But again, on the same line, you have people who have been so disciplined, people who have been so committed, and despite them working from home, you get your reports all the time. And the conversation will be going on, and you find that you feel as if these people are actually working from the same office. So that gives you the change in how you need to handle these people. So what I'm saying is, now we already have people who have identified that, and they have already demarcated and said, I think there are people that we will have them working from home, while we have other people that we need to have that close supervision. You have that caliber of people that require close supervision for them to deliver. So if you do that, then you are continuously learning. You're becoming a learning organization. Or you as an individual also, you are a learning person. Because of that constant need to improve. You're looking at constantly, what better thing can I do? How else can we do this? So that we don't keep on complaining about COVID, but we say, despite COVID, we've been able now even to come up with a new policy on this and that. Beyond COVID, now we have the new people working from home. Now we don't need all this space. We don't need all these facilities. That's essentially what is in the minds of of pioneers and migrators. Now, under the buyer utility, and I think this is just to have a recap of the same because we did it last time. So this tool helps managers to think from the demand side perspective. And by demand side, we mean you look at what is it that the market is looking for. What is it that the customers are looking for? So you're looking at that and you point out and say, as a company, we need to meet this demand. And how do we meet this demand? What do we need? What sort of resources do we need? How and when do we implement this so that we have our buyers being anchored to us? Let our buyers believe in us. Let our buyers be positioned in us so that they will not be compromised to take any service, nor to take any product. And that is what this map will help. So it helps to provide all those different experiences that clients or customers have had on your product. Then as managers or as professionals, then we identify those aspects. We put them down. Then we use that feedback to come up with the best proposals for the market. In fact, my question here will be, how often do we take part in product development or in market development as professionals? Because I think if we remain more on the administrative role, that means it now defeats the purpose of us providing the strategic direction or the HR business partnership, then it tends to be negated. But the moment we understand this and we can always sit on the table and question and say, where is the feedback from our clients? Then we take decisive action about the feedback that we got, then that is meant to improve whatever we offer, or it's meant to improve the services that we do offer to our clients. So this map has two factors. One is the stages of the buyer experience cycle. Then two, the 6 utility aspects or the stages. So when you look at the buyer experience cycle or the BEC, that BEC has what we call the purchase. How does the person purchase your product? Currently, most businesses are online. So am I able to just go to your website? I'm able to browse. I'm able to see the prices of the products. I'm able to make an inquiry. Then I'm able now to purchase that. That's how the experience of the client. So we want to say, is the client comfortable with purchasing the product online? Have we given them that surety that it's for them? They don't risk anything when they buy the products online. Do our clients feel skeptic about purchasing the product because of security issues or the cyber security issues? That's what this will bring about. Okay, Patricia says Zuku offering what DSTV was offering, but added internet on top. Good, that's from Patricia. Yes, because I think, yeah, DSTV does not offer internet, but Zuku gives that complete package, which is now that value, the value add. So in other words, in the pay, what do you call them? Pay TV channels, then we are seeing that Zuku has migrated. So they're having something new. Unlike others who are just, for them it's just the channels and all that, but now they're providing something more than that. So I was giving this example of purchasing. So how easy, how convenient is a client able to purchase our product? That's now the question that will be asked. Or that's what clients will tell you, that, you know, it takes so long for me to buy the product. You have so many processes. The clearance, or people have to queue for a long time. Why don't you have an online purchase. Now that's where questions will be asked that now require your attention as a strategic partner. Delivery. Is the experience of the buyers saying that they received their products in good condition? When you do the analysis, how many complaints do you receive that the products were not received in good condition? And what action did you take to mitigate against that kind of complaint? Then on the usage, did the buyers feel that the usability of that product is appropriate? Supplements. What additional things do they get from that product that is not offered by a rival company? Then also in maintenance, is it a product that they don't have to strain or to feel strained to get somebody to assist them on how to use? Or is it, did you give them the manual? Do you have support that makes them to feel comfortable? Sabrina says, problem with Zuku is accessibility of their product cannot be used in all locations. I think that's now the infrastructure bit. They don't have extensive infrastructure to ensure that accessibility is attained. Charles says, though DSTV has an upper hand because they have exclusive rights to Air Premier League and Champions League, which is extremely popular. Okay, yeah, that's from Charles. Good. And in fact, Charles, just to delve into your discussion, you know, nowadays many people are streaming these games. They're actually using their phones too, and also their smart TVs. And that has had a lot of effects on the DSTV growth. Because now people have decided that if I have internet, I can still watch all these matches. And in fact, it gives you all the matches from different leagues, which in my view now is what is challenging now DSTV. In fact, they need to rethink their strategy. Otherwise, with this internet and with the fiber getting all over the country, they're in for a lot of decline in their market. They're going to have a lot of decline because if I can stream all these games live, and also looking at the cost of DSTV, how much is it per month for me to watch Premier League games? We're looking at around 8,700 compared to if I'm paying 6,000 per month for internet and I can access all those plus other channels under Netflix, then it actually makes this market to be very challenging. And I think whoever came up with that, or the aspect of streaming games live, is another blue ocean, which these companies that are settlers, they need to rethink their strategy so that they don't invest more in this DSTV boxes, but they should now focus more on the internet aspect. That way, that's when they can succeed. In fact, the other way they will have done is that they will have, if they were offering internet, then they'll have channeled that internet, or they have controlled it in such a way that most of the games are embedded in that, which now can easily give them some buffer within the market. Good. So I was talking about the supplements, so that if I buy a laptop, for example, what does this laptop come with? Does it come with a laptop bag? Does it come with an optical mouse? Does it come with other add-ons? Okay. Then for maintenance, I've said it needs to be ease of maintenance. If not, then you have to look at how well can I make sure that my buyers are satisfied. Then disposal. I remember there's a time there was somebody who was running a cyber cafe, and he had bought all these, when the cybers were being introduced, you know, we used to have these desktops that were not flat. So when it came to disposal, it was a very hectic process because those things were just so huge. So disposing them was very, very difficult. So it has to be a factor that any distributor, any producer of a product or a service must always consider the disposal aspect, so that also you don't make your clients to just whine and struggle and wonder, where do I throw this thing? But they should also look at the ease of disposal. Catherine says the buyer experience cycle should be the idea of the job titled customer experience manager to be able to measure the improvements required. Good. And I think that should be one of the KPI for the customer experience. They should actually be providing statistics in the percentages, the growth, because normally you need to have those percentages to show whether the variance is positive or negative. Every now and then they need to give that, and they're giving the solutions to that. They're giving the actions, the action points to each of those variations that will have been identified. Right. So this utility map, it cuts across all the stages of the buyer experience and the utility levels. So the utility levels comprise of these 6: the customer productivity, we have the simplicity, convenience. Now, if you look at convenience and usability, that's part of, it's almost in synchrony. Then we have the fun, we have the risk. Myself, sorry. All right. I think I'd unmuted myself. So what I was saying is, in normal setting, if it was a normal training, what I would do is I'll give you this map. Then we identify one product or one service from your organization. Then we plot. And using this, you can provide a very insightful action on what needs to be done. Because what you do is you compare and say, our product A, in terms of use, this is how it is. So use versus productivity. Then in terms of simplicity, in terms of convenience, in terms of risk, fun, and environmental friendliness. So friendliness comes hand in hand with disposal. Then when we look at supplements, also goes hand in hand with productivity, convenience, and how that can make it to appear different. So this utility map can help managers to locate a product on one of the spaces in the buyer utility map. Then they can use the grid to understand and get new idea about creating different propositions. So you can use that to come up with value proposition for your product or your service. So this approach is fine for newly emerging industries where you have the space for improving the company's utility propositions. But what happens to the existing markets or to the existing industries? It will not help. It cannot help you to create a new blue ocean strategy that can shape a new market space. But if you are coming up with a new, completely new market, then it will be very, very instrumental. Good. In terms of benefits, it will actually help companies to find what premises or factors increase costs without greatly raising buyer utility. Like if you look at, let me just take you back to this diagram. So if you've plotted here, you can actually easily tell if it's about convenience. You just need to change how well you've been able to meet or to make sure that your clients are able to access the product or the service. So you're looking at the cost effectiveness. So you're looking at what we require. If it's about, let's say, customer purchase or maintenance, then you just look at ways in which you can enhance that. If the product has lost its market, the product is not receiving any buys at all, then that now takes you back to the drawing board. Are you going now to come up with a new product line? Are you going to rebrand this product? Are you going to just give value addition to the product? There's a time I gave an example of the detergents and asked the question, why do you think Omo is still popular in the market? We'll have expected it to have declined and will have even lost its market. Why is it? Why is that the Omo is still very popular amongst the buyers? What makes it to be still remain popular? So one of the reasons is, if you look at Omo, just look at the initial Omo package and look at even how it has been rebranding itself and changing and telling customers we have these enzymes, I think, what and all that. So by giving new aspects, by just trying to refine it, is what makes it to remain on the market. In other words, customers view it as a competitive and a responsive product. Because every time they see something new, and usually they will say that it's because of this, we feel that we need to make your washing smooth. We want your washing to be enjoyable. You see, by using those kind of statements, they're actually provoking the mind of the customer to feel that this is the best partner when it comes to detergents. So while others will come up with so many wordy and they'll come up with so many bombarding statements, but you find that for them to outwit Omo brand, it becomes a bit tough. That's the essence of using this. So you're looking at this, the experience and the utility. So it enables you to make those kind of decisions. But also it helps the company also to test the exceptional bioutility of its offering by checking on how it has been used. So you just look at the experience of the buyers. If the buyer says that this product is the most satisfying one, then you also use that to say, we are a brand. We pride ourselves in this product. We pride ourselves because our clients feel that we give them value for their money. That's the essence of this. Right. Next, we have the tiers of non-customers. Remember, I had said that we have the uncontested markets. So as we do the bioutility and also as we do the PMS, the most important thing is now to say, once we identify this uncontested market, who are in this uncontested market? Who are these people? Who are they? And for us to understand that, then we have this, what we call the 3 tiers of non-customers. These are the 3 tiers of non-customers. So for us to, or for an organization to be able to do that, they should stop dealing with the normal clients and focus on how do I create a new market so that they do away with this competition. You forget about the competition that has been there and now look at how do I create myself out of the market and focus on the uncontested markets. So these 3 tiers of non-customers focuses more on non-customers rather than focusing on existing customers. And they also focus on factors or values that customers are cherishing, what customers like, what you as a customer will love to get from the company. If you are working in or if you deal with a bank, what sort of feedback do you want to get from the bank? You want the bank statements, you want to make transactions over your phone, you want to be appraised of any changes. So that constant communication is what will make you feel good about your bank or about that service. Then when companies start focusing on customers, they find create a new mass of customers that they did not have. So these three tiers, number one, we have what we call the soon-to-be customers. Then in the tier two, we have those customers that are very difficult to have on board. So today you talk to somebody and you want them to buy your product, or you have an agreement and you agree, then all of a sudden they're not very convinced about your product. And they will tell you, no, I don't want your product. I don't believe in these products. Then we have the unexplored. That's in tier three, unexplored clients. Now, these are customers that nobody has gotten back to them. Nobody has gone to them to ask them or to convince them to buy the product. So they are totally unexplored. They have no idea. In fact, when you mention about that product, they're asking, what about it? Because none of them has that info about the existence of the product, and therefore they will not associate it with any benefit. So the question would be, how do you then sensitize this group? How do you sensitize them to now accept the product, to start thinking that there is this product that can be beneficial to them? Okay, so this gives now the glimpse of the three tiers of the non-customers, which is the prerogative of a blue ocean strategist. So as a blue ocean strategist, you just dream, you wake up and you're thinking about these three. How do I get to have them as part of my venture? That is what the three tiers focus on. So for example, if you're looking at the soon to be, and I want to look at this diagram, sort of an onion, but you can see at the core, we have the current market. Look at the current market, you see that it is what? It's in red just to distinguish it from the existing customers. So the red one is the existing customers that you already have. So those ones, you already have them within your portfolio. So we are looking at the tier one, the soon to be. So we are saying that these people are sitting at the edge of the current market and waiting to leave the industry. So they'll give you the experiences, how it has been. So they're not very keen to leave the market. Then tier two, we have the refusing customers. So these ones are who consciously refuse to use your offering. So they're the ones who just tell you, I don't buy your product. I normally buy product A. So I don't buy. So somebody will just tell you that I don't use Omo. I use what? Ariel. And whenever they move to a shop, if they don't find Ariel, they'll move to even 4 or 5 shops just to look for the main product, or the product that gives them utility. Then we have the unexplored group. And this one we're saying that they are in faraway markets from yours. And as I've said, there are people even who have no idea what you offer. The moment you talk to them, they'll be asking, what do you do? When did you start selling these products? Or where do you offer this service? I've never heard about you. I don't know that sometimes you find yourself trying to explain to somebody and they'll tell you, you people exist. I've never heard about you. What do you offer? What is it that makes you stand out, or what makes you to continue operating your business as you do? Now that's where these 3 categories are. So when this happens, when this analysis has been done, then it gives the right information now to the strategist to analyze and say, I think we need to have the tier 1 and tier 2, or we need also now to focus on the tier 3. So once we consolidate these 3, then it will give us the uncontested and contested market. So that is what is contained in this. Right, are we together? I don't want to find myself talking alone. Just want to be sure that everyone is on board and we are traveling in the same bus. Okay, so before we yes, Catherine says, okay, we are still in the bus. Tuko pamoja, we are on board. Okay, Susan, thank you. Yes, we are on board. All right, good. I'm excited about that, because at times you may find yourself talking and talking and talking and talking, and you find you have nobody. That's a challenge with virtual meetings. Virtual meetings. There's a time we had a meeting and we called somebody. We could see they have logged in, but they did not even talk at all until the meeting ended in 2 hours. So when we asked them, where were you? Then they were saying, no, I was hearing you, but I could not talk. But we asked them, then why did you even raise your hand? Only to discover that people will log into the meeting, then they actually leave. They're not even within the building, they leave. They'll go somewhere, do their business and come back, which is the challenge that people are facing today, dealing with people in these virtual meetings or trainings. All right. Lucy says, please tell us the strategies of getting the non-customers to being customers. Oh, good. That's the question from Lucy. I think we'll deliberate that in the next few minutes. After we finish this, the ease of strategic fair process, which basically talks about people having people to believe and trust in what? In the kind of business and strategy that you want to be embedded. So the tool of fair process helps to build execution right into the strategy by building stakeholder buy-in upfront. So a company that uses this in its strategy formulation phase will make people to believe in it and will lead to voluntary cooperation during the execution phase. It has 3 mutually enforcing elements. And I just want to mention about them. We have engagement, we have explanation, and we have expectation. Engagement, explanation, and expectation. What does engagement mean? This is very key. Remember, in any change process, we say you must communicate. You must get the buy-in from the people. So the people must be aware about what is it that you want. So don't just bombard them by giving them products or services, or by just giving them decision and saying, can we implement this? So we need to get input from the people so that you get their buy-in. Okay? Let us get their dissenting views. Let us also get their supporting views. By that, you'll have allowed them to highlight what they believe in. So whenever you come up with a final action and say, from the engagement, these are the maybe recommendations, then that person will still feel that they were part of it, though they did not buy that idea, but at least their idea has been captured. That way, then you're building that consensus easily. So we're saying that it's important for the company now to communicate in respect to the individuals and the point of view. And that's where we're saying that it leads to better strategic decisions by management and also commitment. All right. Then we have explanation. Now, this makes people to feel confident and manage their considered opinions and have their unbiased decisions in the overall interest of the company. It makes the individuals to accept the implemented ideas, even if their own ideas have been rejected. Remember, this is what I said, so that you're telling people that we have had the deliberations. As much as we may not be satisfied, not everyone will be satisfied by these decisions, but we know that for the common good of the organization, then we'll go with this kind of suggestion. So that way, this person, even who differed in opinion, will still feel that they are part of it, and they will support it. They'll say, anyway, as much as I don't agree with it, but for the common good of our business, then we'll work together. That's the essence of explanation. Then we have what we call the expectation clarity. Expectation clarity, and this is where at times we go wrong, because we are coming up with a strategy, we've communicated, but people are not sure. People are just confused because we've not clarified exactly what is it. Okay. When, by who, and what are the results that we expect from each one of them? What is the role of every person in the new strategy? So if people do not have that clarity, and that's where you'll find people saying, okay, there was this strategy, but we have no idea. We are waiting for management to tell us where the strategy has reached. So in that case, you've lost all these people in the process of execution. And remember that you cannot execute strategies on your own. In fact, in strategic management, the most crucial point is the implementation. And usually, all the bright strategies fail at implementation. Reason being, involvement, engagement, and lack of clarity in expectations. That's totally what kills the whole dream strategy that you may have come up with the aim of making your company to reach to greater heights. Good. So that's, I think, is it for the first session. I think it's already, you can see on my time is 17 past 10. So that means we just take a short break, then we proceed with the next bit, which we should be finishing at around same time in the next hour. But I think there was a question from, we're just asking. So what I can do, I think during this period, during this break, I just want us to have an engagement on for just 10 minutes. For 10 minutes, then as I respond to the chat from, there was a chat from who? Lucy. Tell us the strategy of getting the non-customers to being customers. Okay. Anybody to delve into this conversation? How do we get non-customers to being our customers? How do we get non-customers to being customers? Let's chat, let's engage. As we do this, and as you ponder about it, I just want you to look at, think of how many products have you bought that you had no idea and somebody just convinced you, or the salesperson just talked to you and convinced you and you felt you needed to try, or somebody testified about it and you had to buy. Think on that line, because it will also give us some vivid prescriptions towards getting you our customers that have not been there. Mary Khan says through samples and promotions. Good. Let's keep conversing. Let's keep conversing, giving free samples or free testing. Very good. That's from Martha. To use the report on this can help build confidence to bring new customers on board through customer sensitization, and in a new way provide the products as a free sample. Do follow up on the same in order to get feedback. Correct. Angeline says carry out market research, understand buying trends, and market to them using fun and value add. Good. Lucy says explore the buyer utility map. That's great. That's great. Let's keep the conversation. Let's keep the conversation coming as take my sip of water. Pauline says, through sharing reviews by existing customers, such as customer testimonials. Barbara says, we need to know where those customers through market research, and then let them know about our products through free testing and giving free samples. Good. Awareness through advertisements. That's from Mary. Use your current customers as your ambassadors. Yeah, that's a very thoughtful one. That's from Jen. That your customers are the ambassadors of your products. And remember, on that also, we say organizations, who are your first customers in organizations, employees or external? Because if you have customers or you have employees who don't believe in your product or service, they will not be ambassadors of the same. Yes, Angeline says employees. Offer credits for purchase of certain amounts of products. Meshach says employees are your first customers. Sheila says employees are the first customers. I totally agree. Employees. Employees. Employees, Jen. All right. Employees. Chef Cruz says prompt service delivery to existing customers. Yeah, so I think Chef Cruz is pinpointing that is very instrumental to have for you to reach out to that market to ensure that you are, whatever you do, the ambassadors are able to deliver that, and they'll say, if you purchase your product from this company, be assured that it will be delivered on time, with no faults, with no excuses and all that. So that would be the name. Word of mouth. In fact, you may make so many advertisements on YouTube. You can make so many advertisements on Instagram, on the newspaper, TV, radio. But as much as the word of mouth is negative, then you will not actually get it. Because what people will be saying, you see now, these ones are advertising, but they're the ones I told you, they con people. So that way, then already, you, as you're trying to do what we call trying to mitigate against the damage, but already as you advertise, in fact, you make it worse, because people will now be making reference and say, these people, they just talk, but no actions. Or whatever they say is completely the opposite of what they do. So you have to be very, very careful whenever you deal with your customers. Make sure that your customers, whatever you do, resonates with what customers believe in. Don't say, just like the cliche, don't preach water and take wine. If you're preaching water, take water. You rather take a whole tank of water than taking the opposite. So we need people to be the ambassadors. Okay, there's a comment from Meshach says, have witnessed times when free sampling does not change customer behavior. I therefore think that if we have the product in the market and prospective customer aren't buying, you must endeavor to establish why there is resistance. Okay, that free samples do not, according to Meshach, he had witnessed times when the free samples were not working. Okay, then from one user to all, he says excellent customer service, including post-sale services, helps in building a reputable brand that sells itself mostly through the referrals. Patricia says sticky products. Patricia, I hope you wouldn't mind to explain more about sticky products for the benefit of everyone. Mary Kane says samples do work. It depends on the product. If it's quality, then you will get someone to pay attention once they use the free sample. Yes, yes, yes. Quality of your services and products. Maureen says quality of your services and products. Masha says price point, it's increasingly important. COVID-19 means the customer is ready not to be loyal. COVID-19 means that customers, okay. The whole team needs to understand the role played by customers to salary and how they are valued so that employees are involved in bringing new customers on board. That's from Catherine. Well done, well done, well done. Well done, thank you, thank you, thank you. Allow me now to proceed to the next session as we look towards winding up. So there's an example that I want us to look at using the buyer utility. We'll be using some Nokia phone, just a comparison of Nokia phone and the iPhone, just to establish why is it that the time Nokia phones were being launched on the market, then iPhones were also being introduced, and what sort of value did the iPhones bring that Nokia were not bringing on board? So we can use the buyer utility to locate a new product, to improve an existing product, or to position or reposition a product, or to conduct market research. I think, and this sentiment is echoed by one of us, I think, who said you carry out market research to determine the market, determine the gap in the market. So by using this buyer utility, you can be able to discern that from your results. So let's look at Nokia N series mobile phones, which is how they can be mapped with iPhones. So those are the categories or their features. So this just gives a glimpse of how you can do that. Just compare the features vis-a-vis Nokia here, then you have the iPhone. Then look at the features, you look at the usability, you look at the display, the sound, the memory, the camera, and general features. So that way, then you can compare and say, I think I'll prefer this phone to this phone. I'm sure even in this platform, when I ask you how many people have Samsung phones, Android phones, you'll tell us and you'll explain to us why you like Samsung Android phones. Another person will tell us how for them it's basically techno. Another person will say mine is what? The iPhone. So with that variation, then it gives us, or somebody will say for them they like the Sony. So depending on how user-friendly the phone is, or how you feel it gives you satisfaction, that's when you can bring out this mapping. So if you're mapping the existing product, for example, using Nokia, we can have these, for example, risk vis-a-vis delivery, then we have user use, the supplements, we can have the maintenance, we can have the disposal. This is how the map is. So you can plot using the 6 levels versus the 6 stages of the BEC, just to determine whether that product, but now you'll vary. For example, on this other side, you'll vary and say for customer productivity, you will use a different color. Then at the end of it, now you can multiply and say, I believe this product is the best, or it has some limitation when it comes to buy utility. Now, Apple developed a new mobile phone which does not directly compete with Nokia's and other cell phones in the market. That's the iPhone. We're just using the iPhone 6, and you can see it's the comparison is just general like the other one, but now you can see the features are a bit enhanced. The extreme in terms of user and also in terms of compatibility, integration. Now that's what distinguishes the product. So when you're doing that, then it's like you're using it to sell. And somebody will look at this and say, I think if I want a camera, I'll need a camera that has this pixel. So they look at the pixel specifications, and now they will not buy the one for Nokia. They'll go for the iPhone. They also look at the risk issues. They'll also look at the display, that size. They look at the memory. They look at compatibility. All that will inform you as a business to know whether your product is worth or it has a lot of challenges when it comes to distribution and also the usability by the customer. So the iPhone, this is just an example of how it has been plotted: delivery, simplicity, use, convenience, fun and image, then the supplements compared to the others. Now you can see this, this one has used this, the yellow, not yellow colors, the yoke yellow color to show how iPhone, new product is positioned on there, how it is positioned on the buyer utility map. Now, after mapping the products on the buyer utility matrix, Nokia can identify its market or its aspects with respect to competitive products such as Apple upcoming iPhone. So you compare that, and you can be able to tell that my product is lacking on this aspect. Maybe it's lacking on delivery, or it's lacking on utility. That way, then it enables the makers of Nokia to rethink that if they're going to launch a new product, the new mobile should actually have more advanced features that can match the features of iPhone. The only challenge that will be there is once people have positioned themselves with iPhone, then you'll find it so difficult for you to convert those customers to Nokia. But that's essentially in the market. So in markets, what we say is you may find people who have conditioned themselves to a particular product. So that if I lose my phone today, next time I'll not go and change the maker or the makers of the same. What I'll do is I'll buy the same brand. I don't change my brand. I keep the brand. But we have other people who like exploring to see if I bought Samsung today, next time I'll buy iPhone. If I buy iPhone, I'll also have maybe Techno just to compare the features to see the utility levels of each one of them. So this is how you can carry out your buyer utility. So this will be very important if you're working with the marketing teams, so that they need to do this analysis. The marketing manager, in fact, and the customer experience should be able to give you a report on this if you're dealing with the product and also the the service. What do clients feel about our product and the service? So, and I've said we can use that map to identify new opportunities, existing gaps, and develop new products. So one of the key concepts today was what we call strategy, reorientation, and execution. Reorientation and execution. And this strategy, reorientation, and execution takes a 4-stage process that was proposed by Bill Bratton in order to bring about rapid, spectacular, and durable change with limited resources. But nevertheless, as he was talking about this strategy, he says that this process is hampered by what we call hurdles. Hurdles are problems, are challenges that we find along our way. And he said that these hurdles are categorized into 4. That as much as your intention is to have the strategy reintroduced again, and you want to execute it, but you must be prepared to deal with the hurdles. You must be prepared to overcome these hurdles. You must be prepared to navigate the hurdles, lest you don't get to the achievement of the strategy as earlier intended. So, according to him, we have these 4 hurdles, but he said that hurdles that are cognitive and resource hurdles are the main obstructions that organizations face in reorienting and formulating the strategy. Now, cognitive is about mind. And whenever we talk about the mind, mind is a product of the culture. So if our culture is so rigid, if we have a culture that is not embracing strategy, that does not embrace new ways of doing things, then we'll not reach that apex of execution. So according to Bill is that we need to be very cognitive, or our cognition should actually inform which direction we want to take. Then also the resource hurdles, whereby you have aligned your process, your plan, but you don't have resources, you don't have people to run the process, you don't have the finances, you don't have the equipment. And here you say maybe you want to launch a new product, but you don't have the right resources. So that in itself will slow down. It will actually curtail the whole process of strategy, reorientation, and execution. And I'm sure you can agree with me that more often than not, we've had new strategies being reoriented to us, but along the way, because of lack of leadership, now that means the cognitive, then we actually just put that strategy into our shelves and we dream about it, and next time we wait for another person to come and tell us, no, we can have a new strategy, and we keep on, it becomes what we call a chain of thinking. But that chain of thinking rotates around the same thing, whereby we don't progress, we don't move from point A to B, but we remain at point A, thinking about how we need to move. So every year we think about how we need to move, but we don't lay down strategies towards that. And that way, then we will not succeed as organizations and also as individuals. So we forget that we need to do the right thing, which will gratify people and make them feel driven to achieve that. Right. So these hurdles, and as I've said, it's important that the Blue Ocean strategy should be executed after a company has developed a Blue Ocean strategy with a profitable business model. Just like other strategies, this one should, it faces the various hurdles. The cognitive, so what we're going to do is we look at each one of them and we look at how do we overcome that. So we have the cognitive, the resource, motivational, and we have the political hurdle. All these hinge on the organization. So you have the cognitive, where you need somebody to lead the band. Let people sing the song. Then you allocate resources and responsibilities. Then you motivate them. Meaning you're looking at incremental achievement of the same. When people achieve something, compliment them. Don't be so economical. Congratulate them, reward them, incentivize them. By doing that, then you're working towards making them to comply and also support you in achieving the strategy. Then you have the political hurdle where you will find people always opposing and saying, this strategy does not work. It has never worked. It never worked and it will never work. They'll tell you, we've been here. We've done this. People have come and they have left. So this one, my friend, is not going anywhere. You have a brilliant idea, but it won't go anywhere. So the politics of work politics is also a very, very imperative aspect that we need to look at when it comes to strategy reorientation. Because you can't succeed without having the right political mind. You must rally behind political shepherds in the organization to champion your strategy reorientation. Now, as I've said, this cognitive hurdle is the challenge to understand that people get to understand and perceive the change in terms of their perception, knowledge, learning, and reasoning to bring about the shift. So what we need to do is to make sure that people realize and awaken them for the strategic shift. So on the same vein, what I'm saying is we need to make sure that people perception, their knowledge, that means we constantly engage them. Let us communicate with them. Let us sensitize them on the need to have this new process. And you see, let us not make them feel that this process are doing it for the organization. Let us make them feel that this process or this new strategy or this technology will make them easy to work. It will actually ensure that the process they have been going through is shortened. So let people see value in that process. Because once I see that I'm going to benefit as an individual, definitely I will not have any reservations. But if I see it as if it's being forced down into my throat, then believe you me, I'll resist it to the end. So there has to be that harmony in terms of cognition. We need to have that convergence in the cognition. We need to have that similarity in the way we think. That way, then, we'll definitely achieve the strategy. So we need to make sure that people realize and awaken them for the strategic shift. Let them understand that it is now or never. This strategy is for the benefit of every one of us. This strategy will make us to stand out of, to help to actually compete effectively. It will help us to stand out of the competition. But if you fail to do that, then you will be in for a road shock. So it's incumbent upon us as team leaders to propagate this kind of mindset. Let people see that this change is for our benefit, not only for the organization. Then we have the resource hurdle, where we're saying that is basically to get the right type as well as the right amount of resources to bring about the strategic shift. So normally, and as I've said in that statement, is that the larger is the shift in strategy, the greater is the resources it will require for execution. So if you're doing an overhaul, that means you require more resources. But if you're doing an incremental change, that means you can always try to align your resources to accommodate that kind of change. However, challenges that happen mostly with companies is lack of resources to bring about change. So once you don't have the resources, then you are actually having an uphill task. It becomes a tall order for you to achieve that. Another important concept is motivation. Remember in the conversation I was asking, who are your first customers? And we said employees. Who are the people, isn't it? Now, if I'm the customer, I'm the employee and I'm demotivated, how do you expect me to propagate the good name of the product or the company's image out there? Automatically, that one is a no. But if you've made employees to feel associated with the company, you make people to love what they do. That way, they will actually be great ambassadors of your business. So it is very, very vital for us to ensure that we put these people on that platform whereby they feel valued. We value them, we recognize them, and we motivate them. That way, it is very easy to bring about the strategic shift. So in other words, what I'm saying is strategy execution depends on the people. And these people must be motivated. You must ensure that you motivate them. If you do not motivate them, already that strategy is dead on arrival. By the time you're introducing it to the meeting, that's the time it's dead. And you'll keep singing about the same, and people will be looking at you and wondering, what is the problem with you? Because you did not embed it in people, and you did not align it with motivation. It didn't make people feel, and as I've already mentioned, if I feel that it's going to benefit me, already that gives me the motivation. So what I need is just a slight injection of now linking some benefit to it, and I'll be good to go. So companies face the challenge because how to get the key players motivated to make them move. So you need to identify the change agents if it's about change, so that they drive the whole process. Then we have political huddle. So here we talk about the power brokers in the organization who will always look at the new strategy vis-a-vis how is it going to affect the control. If we have the new strategy, how is it going to make me irrelevant? Will it make this other person more powerful? Or will it mean that this other department will get more resources than our department? So politics will play out very strongly at that moment. So we expect that then companies have to face this challenge where the more powerful people in the organization may try to stop the strategic shift from taking place to take care of their own vested interests. So what I've said about vested interest is control of resources and also loss of position. Remember, when we look at factors limiting change, we have people who believe that their position has to be protected. And if we have this new change, they are not going to have the power that they used to wield. In that case, they will definitely oppose. Or sometimes the change will make them irrelevant. They'll make them obsolete. That way, believe you me, expect the tussle from the power brokers in the organization. Now, having said that, or having mentioned about these political hurdles, then how do we go around it so that we gain the benefits of it? How do we do that? So one of the ways, taking an example of cognitive, we expect that we put managers to face-to-face directly with the problems and the customers. So in that case, then we want to find ways of communicating to the strategies to the interested parties to avoid any kind of conflict or to avoid any kind of people saying they have no idea. So that communication is very, very important for us to embed our change. On resource huddle, you need to prioritize activities or the hotspots, and also by bargaining with partner organizations. So just look at which are these activities that are a must. So in your priority list, you'll have the immediate ones, the medium term, and the long term. That way, then you can easily navigate this challenge of the resource huddle. When it comes to motivation, we need to have the incentives. Let us incentivize the strategy so that people will be driven. Somebody will feel that if I'm doing this, we are going to have new opportunities, for example. We are going to have new roles. These new roles, of course, will come with new, better terms and all that. That way, you're making them to be driven. Or just some other rewards may not be necessarily in terms of career, but just acknowledging and congratulating and saying, for this 1 month, we had set this target and Mary has been the top. Mary has emerged the top in terms of implementing. So you congratulate that person, you celebrate the milestone that has been achieved. That way, you're also on the journey towards achievement of the same. Still on motivation, also you should properly communicate the challenge to match the organization various needs. Then on politics, this is where you say you need to identify your enemy. Identify this enemy, and once you identify the enemy, then you devise ways of dealing with the enemy. I remember there was one story from a vice chancellor who was facing so many industrial strife from the union members. And his university was always at the top of the list when it comes to industrial action. So what he did is, he said, I don't think I'll be able to manage, or I cannot win this battle by threatening or by issuing statements. The best way is to identify the leaders of these unions. So he identified the leaders and started engaging them on a very subtle way. And what he did is, there was no formal discussion. So he never met them in the offices, he never met them within the premises. What he did is, he used junior staff to identify where these union leaders usually meet, and declared that they were meeting in a particular club. So, realizing that they meet in a particular club, he went on and now took his troops to that point and said that I think I will have to go there. So I'll take myself to them, but I'll not expect I will not order them to come to me. So he started that conversation. So he started meeting one of the union officials, who was actually by that time the Secretary General. So he met, they had a very informal discussion, they talked, and during that talk, he made it to appear so informal, and the discussion did not even hinge on the strike. So his intention was first to build friendship and say, forget about the conflict that we are having, forget about all that we're having outside or at work, but here we are friends, we are buddies. And he did that with the main aim of winning him now to his side. So they met for a couple of days, and by the last meeting they had, around the 5th meeting, they had already started now. In fact, what he did is, the Vice Chancellor ensured that now he was getting feedback on how to sort out the issue of the industrial strife, or the industrial strike with the union members. So he did that. So they met. Then after the 5th meeting, there was a meeting after that now of the Senate to talk about the way forward for the strike. And remember, all this time, their conversation has been very informal. But the Vice Chancellor had already won the opinion shaper. He had warned the Secretary General on what they need to do. And he just did that by having the informal conversations. And along the way, he invited him now for the Senate meeting. And remember, what he did is, he got the feedback from the union member and put them in the report about the agenda for the next meeting. So when he started the meeting, he said, in fact, today we have this agenda and that, and there's also this that has been raised by our able Secretary General of the Union. So by just mentioning that and saying that we've had a conversation, it changed the whole mood of the meeting. And other union leaders now started thinking, that I think if our leader has had a conversation and they're engaging, then we rather take this kind of direction. And that's how they resolved the strike for that period of time. Because what he decided to say is that let me not appear like I want to be isolated. Let me not like I want to be the boss, but I'll go down to these people to solve this strike. And he brought that strike to an end. Because of that aspect of just identifying and silencing the internal opponents. So you do that and isolate them and deal with them. But the manner in which you deal with them should be subtle. Don't threaten them, don't kill them. Because at times you've had people saying that utajua mimi ni nani. You know who am I, you know people. You don't do that. But there's a better way in which strategists work. They'll just deal with you in a very, very subtle way and it'll be sorted with the problem. All right, now this brings us to the question that did you know that the supplement stage refers to the usage of core product in combination with other products and services? Microsoft used the supplement stage of the buyer experience cycle to erase out competition. It made it so difficult for Google desktop software to function smoothly with its Vista software. Also, it introduced Internet Explorer with its Windows operating system to eliminate the need to use Netscape browser. That was just on the segment of Did You Know, which is just a growth on the political hurdle and how to overcome the politics at work. Fair enough. So having looked at the did you know concept, I want us now to look at what is the right strategic approach, having looked at all those reorientation strategy. After looking at the reorientation, then what is the right strategic approach for you? What do we need to use as a strategy? So first of all, we need to carefully consider the following three factors to be able to emanate with the best strategic approach. One, the structural conditions in which the company operates. So look at your company, evaluate your company in terms of structural conditions. Secondly, look at the resources and the capabilities of the company. What is your company capable of doing that has been untapped? Look at that has been untapped. Then don't forget to look at the strategic intent of the company. This purely means you are looking at the vision. Where does this organization dream to be? That's what strategic intent or the mindset is all about. So what is the strategic approach? There are two strategic approaches. The first one is a structuralist approach, and the second one is the reconstructionist approach. And I believe we've had a prior conversation on these two in our first discussion, but nonetheless, we'll just need to see what else is contained in the two. So when you're looking at the structuralist approach, we choose that when the conditions of the industry or environments are attractive, or when the company has resources and capabilities to carve out a particular competitive position, or even in not so attractive environment, if the company has the resource and capabilities to beat the competition, or when our strategy is to focus on leveraging the organization's core strength to achieve acceptable risk. So those are some of the conditions that can enable us or can enable the organization to partake on the structuralist approach. Having said that, then in what condition do we take reconstructionist? Now, you will advocate for reconstructionist to an organization when conditions are unfavorable and they are going to work against your company. Maybe we have new laws, we have new processes, and you cannot operate in that environment. You have to work from home. So you have to take reconstructionist what? Approach. When people do not have to work physically. I don't know how well we've been able to do our marketing now that there are companies that have been benefiting from the face-to-face marketing and sales. How has that been reconstructed in our various organizations? How well have you done that to ensure that you remain afloat with competition, so that despite the COVID restrictions now demanding that you don't have to meet people face-to-face, nor have meetings, but you've been able to align that, and you came up with, you reconstructed your approach, or your company reconstructed the approach. How has the company done that? Maybe I will expect some people just to share with us how that has been done. How have you reconstructed the way you've been doing things? So that's what makes the core of this discussion on reconstructionist. So we can chat, we can have a chat, we can have chats, we can share how we've reconstructed our approaches. Because as you look at even point number 2, when we are saying when in spite of your resources and capabilities, structuralist approach is not smart option in an unfavorable condition. And also when the company is part of an industry which is characterized by excess supply, cutthroat competition, and low profit margins. And also when your company strategy is to focus on building a strategy that will reshape the industry. So how have we done, or how have we reconstructed the way we've done things? You can even share your experience, even how you've changed the manner in which you've been dealing with people, how you've been supervising people. How has that changed? Because that's what informs this reconstructionist approach. How have we done that? Guys, let's chat. For those ones who can admit themselves, please share. We are free to share in terms of reconstructionist. Hello. Hello. Guys, are we there?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, so please share with us how have you reconstructed your actions during this period? Online meetings, that's from Angeline, Zoom and Microsoft Teams. Yes, that's from Angeline. I'll be interested in how people have been supervised. If at all they have been working from home. Maybe it's the heavy terminology that has scared us. Reconstructionist. Kenya, don't be scared. You know, reconstructionist basically means you are not doing things the same way you used to do because the conditions have changed drastically. So you are more or less changing the way you do things so that you don't stop. The business does not stop, so that you don't switch off the business, but it has to continue. Okay, Mary says we are replacing desktops with notebooks, weekly meetings via Teams and regular check-in. That is from Rolin. Catherine says deliver of service differently by use of available resources on tech shifts. Priscilla says there's a record to show what you've been doing throughout the week. Lucy says branding our services in such a way that we have a unique point of our competitors, e.g. the only university that will not engage in strikes. Students compete on time as well as vigorously engaging the industry to ensure maximum absorption of our graduates. Right, Patricia says accepting online application instead of weekly hard copy documents, correct. Sheila says weekly feedback. Angeline says setting weekly or monthly goals on the performance management system and reviewing them regularly. So I'm presuming that's the performance management system that's online. Sabrina says awareness trainings done online to staff, right? Weekly feedback digitally sent. That's from Susan. Good. Keep them coming. Share your experiences. How you've been? How are you meeting people? How do you handle people? Engaging computer programmers on apps that help appraise work. Okay, that's from Catherine. Good. Digital application for licensing. Good. Yeah. So actually, what you are, all these comments that you're bringing now, they are reflecting what reconstructionist is. Use of WhatsApp official communication platforms apart from emails. How many of you have done, there are companies I saw they have done online end of year parties virtually. Have you done the same? What has been the experience? Providing resources to enable employees work from home, yes. Home fiber, etc., and weekly catch-up meetings. Correct. That's from Paris. Digital leave management, that's from Mary. In fact, Paris is saying that they are provided resources. That means initially people were purely using the desktops at work, but because of the new dynamics, they had now to change and move swiftly and procure what? Machines for people to work from home, and also the home fiber. I don't think, maybe that was something that you had never thought of, but the conditions of COVID actually provoked you to go that direction. Okay, Meshach says using production teams, rotation due to the limitation of having to use installed capacity. In other words, if you have to manufacture at factory, then there is little else you can alter. Yeah, using production teams, rotation due to limitation of having to use installed capacity. End of year parties, delivered food and goodies or interest. Yes, that's from Catherine. End of year parties, yes. You know, there are those who have held that, and it was very, very exciting to watch. I would love to hear of these two end of year parties. Surprised by the ideal of virtual end of year party. Yeah, it worked actually. I was that was like I think 2 weeks ago at Kenya Wine Agencies. The CEO held that party virtually, and also guys now receive their goodies where they are, but they logged in and they were part of the pomp, the celebration, and so there was no at that moment actually there was no hiding your face. So your video has to be on and to celebrate with the rest, despite you being in the house. Surprised by that idea of virtual end year party. Now that's what we call reconstructionist approach. So you don't postpone. You know, if your virtual party, if your end of year party happens in September, don't tell people that, you know, because of COVID, now we are not going to have this party. Or because of COVID, now we are not going to have team building. Actually, I've seen there are some team building exercises that happen virtually. If you need tips, you can have a conversation around that. But the companies that have done that, I've seen, like my own organization, what we do is we have some reflection sessions in the morning, some days. Like we have a Thursday where we reflect and everyone logs in and we share our experiences. Good. I have witnessed a farewell party for a top telco. That's from Lucy. Jen says we've been doing team workouts online. Good. I think Jen now supports or can attest to that. Paris innovative digital solutions, virtual fun activities, Zumba team building, etc. Yes, you can see from Paris. Parties need glove, deliver the nyam choma. Team building is really being together. Wow. All right. Who else? Who else? Good. So I think, thank you for that feedback. In fact, what I wanted was for us to contextualize what is this reconstructionist approach. Let's not look at it as a very difficult term. It's basically how we change our thinking process, how we change things so that we are able to overcome the challenges. We should not think the same way we were thinking last year. We should not do things the same way we did in January. Now that we're in November or October, we need to do things differently. So these are the reasons behind reconstructionist approach. So what we can conclude on this is that all companies that are stable today, despite the COVID, they had to undergo what we call reconstructionist approach. Because nobody ever thought of online meetings. And even now we've had to come up with addendums to support the aspect of online meetings and online or e-signatures, just to ensure that we are in conformity with the regulations with regard to documentation. So all that is a reconstructionist approach. Currently, when you're having an onboarding session, people can be onboarded online now. They do online, they sign online. Initially, they have to move from one office to another and tell them, oh, now this is the office A, these are the policies and all that. That is pure reconstructionist approach. Right, so now the core values to drive innovation. One of the core values is quality. So you relook into what you're offering and develop a quality proposition. Where we say, I want to offer what others are not doing. I want to be acknowledged as a top quality organization. My service should be top quality. So you're looking at that and comparing with the market and say, whatever I'm going to launch should be distinct and of quality. Individuality, you're now looking at targeting a particular need. So you're looking at that and saying, I would love to target a particular need of the customer. Remember I said, you look at the 1% that is not being done by the rest. Then creativity. Once you identify that, then you become creative and roll out that product. Then trust is another vital component of driving innovation, because you need to get the trust of your customers for you to thrive. If you're launching a new product, believe you me, trust has to be at the center of it. Let people trust that that business, that product, that service is of value. That service will not harm them. That service is authentic. That service is of integrity. Then we have leadership. Leadership. Remember the story I gave of a lion, an army of lions led by a sheep and an army of sheep led by a lion. Now that's where leadership comes in. You may have so many lions, but if you as a leader, you are the sheep, then that innovation is doomed to fail, because there is a maximum within which these lions can push the sheep. But if the sheep feels that this direction is harmful, I'll not go there because of that, the phobia that it has, then you won't achieve that. But you have that lion type of leader who says everything is possible. If it's about venturing into a new market and a new product, let's go for it. And he lays down the strategy and he puts people into the mindset, then definitely you'll achieve it. Then we have accountability, which resonates specifically with the responsibility. So are you accountable for your actions? Are you accountable for the services? Are you accountable for the actions that you'll be taking? Masha Mshiri says, Sheila says, that's great, motivating, especially during this period. Nyamachoma helps too. Masha says cohorts. Okay, yes, then we have measurement as another core value to drive innovation. So when you're coming up with an innovative product or a service, your innovation must be measured. Measured in the sense that you look at the stages of developing the innovation, analyze that, look at the response, look at the market, look at the costs, and all that. All that measurement will enable you to know whether the innovation is worthwhile or not. That is very, very significant. Sabrina, okay, thank you, Sabrina. Good. So after that innovation, then I want you to, this is what I would like you to think as we end the session, is that you choose any product of your choice, carry out the buyer utility, and answer the following questions. What are the areas of strength of the product? What are the areas of weaknesses of the product? And how the product can be improved. Once you've plotted that on the buyer utility, then you ask yourself those questions. So ladies and gentlemen, in summary, this is, I'm just giving you the diagram to show what we've done from the start. So from the start, we were looking at blue ocean strategy, and we looked at the steps to create that. Then we went to the tools. Then today we looked at the Erc Grid, the huddles, the tires. Then also we looked at under the ERC, we have this, the eliminate, the reduce, raise, and create. That just gives a summary. Then under the huddles, the 4 huddles, how do we execute to get to the blue ocean strategy? Then the tires of non-customers, we have the soon to be, the refusing, and the unexplored. And generally, this outlines what our discussion has been for the last 3 sessions. So to that end, ladies and gentlemen, individuals can create blue oceans to reinvent themselves or even their companies. And we have an example of this sportswoman, showbiz star. Then we have Steve Jobs, and we have the Ratan Tata of nano cars. Thank you very much. Right. So ladies and gentlemen, that marks the end of our 3 modules, and I'm excited that we've had all this conversation throughout, and I'm happy that we've engaged. Unless if there is any question from or any observation, you're free to share with us. Charles, very enlightening indeed. Thank you for the great insights and lessons on BOS. Thank you, Anjiru. Charles, thank you. Angeline, very interesting session. Thank you, Priscilla. Thank you, Sheila. Thank you. All right, Patricia, Angeline, Charles. All right. Thank you, Lillian. Thank you, Sabrina. Catherine, thank you. Design the presidency on BOS. Thank you so much for your great 3 BOS modules. That's Anne. Thank you, James, for well job done. I have learned a lot. Thank you, Doris. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Susan. Chepkui, thank you. Thank you, Pauline. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, it was a pleasure having you for these 3 Saturdays, and I'm hopeful that we will continue learning. This conversation should not end here. I would love to know your experiences after this. Go and share with your teams, share with your managers, share with your top leaders, and let's see a change in terms of this learning. Let us continue sharing the same information, and let's be contributors when it comes to strategies. Let's give that kind of confidence in everyone and also in the organizations that we work for. Then as I conclude, I want to inform you that Dan is here, but he's not able to talk, but I want to also communicate to you that the 4th annual HR Symposium is set for next month. That's November. So you are invited to join that annual HR Symposium from 10th to 12th of November in Naivasha, that will run for the 3 days. So I'm told there are many big things, there are many expected things. There's a lot of deconstructionists that has taken place, and expect that you'll be there to join the conversation. So you're welcome. You can liaise with the SCHRP management to make your booking for that kind of symposium that is coming out. So the roll call, I think a roll call will be able to take it from where we are. Just know if you aren't on the WhatsApp group, let us know on WhatsApp via that. I think that's a communication from SCHRP. Thank you, Winnie. Thank you, Masha. Thank you, Charles. Good, so ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all the best. Enjoy your weekend and be blessed.
Thank you, Mwalimu.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for this wonderful training.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you so much. I've learned so much about Blue Ocean. I had no clue what that was, and now
Thank you so much.
3 weeks later, I'm good.
Thank you.